Make sure the talk is done now. Time to start back the work now. All the talk done, all the talk done. Work nation!
We fed up by these people and all the bag of lies and everything that they're doing wrong, they're trying to disguise.
Always pointing fingers, never wanna take the blame.
We frustrated now, don't want no more, and we ain't taking it again.
Let's get to work again, cause we're sick of them on the lies. Let's get to work again, cause the country needs to shine.
Let's get to work again. Come on, people, you know it's true. Let's get to work again, cause the UNC works for you. Come on.
From there we start the engine. UNC have the plan to build a brighter future for Twin Island.
Come on everybody, and you know it's true. It's time to start work again, and the UNC works for you.
Work nation to the world. Come on.
All these years of pressure, agony and pain, but we work with them and we cope with them and we feel the blunt of the strain.
Now we the people start crying out. We can't take it no more. So election day when you ink your fingers, UNC you're voting for.
Let's get to work again, cause we're sick of them on the lies. Let's get to work again, cause the country needs to shine.
Let's get to work again. Come on, people, you know it's true. Let's get to work again, cause the UNC works for you.
From there we start the engine. UNC have the plan to build a brighter future for Twin Island.
Come on everybody, and you know it's true. It's time to start work again, and the UNC works for you.
Work nation. This is how we work. Come on. Tell them what we do.
We don't talk the talk, we just walk the walk. We don't make no joke when it's time to work.
Katrina.
We don't talk the talk,
What you say?
we just walk the walk.
Tell them.
We don't make no joke when it's time to work. Let's get to work again, cause we're sick of them on the lies. Let's get to work again, cause the country needs to shine.
Let's get to work again. Come on, people, you know it's true. Let's get to work again, cause the UNC works for you.
From there we start the engine. UNC have the plan to build a brighter future for Twin Island.
Come on everybody, and you know it's true. It's time to start work again, and the UNC works for you. Talk done, talk done, talk done, talk done, talk done.
Work nation.
We stand united in the belief that if you empower a community, the community empowers the country.
We are the party that gave every child a secondary school education since 2001.
By building more schools in 11 years than others did in 40. We believe that no child,
Rich or poor, should be left behind.
which is why we give every 4-month student a laptop to expand their minds and their dreams.
We are the party that put police cars back on the streets.
And gave the police a $1,000 bonus because we believe that we should support the persons who are protecting you.
We are the party that reduced the murder rate to its lowest in 14 years. We expanded GATE, stopped the property tax, and increased maternity leave.
We are the party that invested in you and in your community by investing in schools, community centers, lighted parks, 24-hour health centers, and the most extensive road repair program in decades.
We believe that education is always a solution and that no one should have to pick between sending their child to school or buying food.
We are the party that works for you. We are the first responders in every situation, working to deliver a better standard of living for you and your family.
And most importantly, we have confidence in you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. This is not a campaign, it's a movement. a movement based on building communities and strengthening families.
Come out and join us, and together we will get the nation working and moving again. Our children will once again have access to gate and technology
We will improve healthcare.
by cutting the time it takes to see a doctor in an emergency. We will establish a senior citizen unit in every major hospital and staff the hospital with the doctors and nurses you need to create a first-class healthcare system. We will focus on creating high-paying jobs, fixing our laws to remove red tape, and ensuring that you and your family are safer. We will reduce corporate taxes to jumpstart the economy, create a special investment zone along the East-West corridor, and work with entrepreneurs to build a digital economy. This is an investment in your community to move the nation forward and get TNT working again.
Whether you are from 4th Street in Barataria to Railway Road in Dow Village, from Green Street in Tunapuna to Clark Road in Debe, from La Hokita to Maruga, from Miaro to Scarborough, we are one people with the same dreams of a better tomorrow. And when we stand together, we win together. We are UNC and proud.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first welcome you all to this pre-budget consultation, which is being held tonight in the Diego Martin constituencies, which we have combined with Diego Martin West, Diego Martin Central, and Diego Martin Northeast. But as usual, I would like to first indicate that we will start, but we all ask that we will stand for the playing of the national anthem of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Might I ask that you all please remain standing as I invite Mr. Sterling Chase, Chairman of Diego Martin West, to lead us in our opening prayer.
Good night, let's bow our heads. Dear Father, today is the day that you made, and I would like to bless everyone here that came, the speakers, bless this great party, bless our political leader. We are here tonight to conduct the business of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and I would like us to make sure to have a good meeting. I want you all to join me in saying the Our Father. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. Amen.
I invite you all to take your seats. Good evening, everyone. UNC family of Diego Martin, good evening. Let me first say a pleasant good night to you all. My name is Brian Baig. I'm the legal officer of the United National Congress, and I shall be your chairman of tonight's proceedings. Again, I welcome you all to Diego Martin. I welcome our party to Diego Martin. I welcome the nation of Trinidad and Tobago to Diego Martin, because we are also streaming live on our UNC's social media platform. Tonight, it is about you. Tonight, we are here to listen
to you. Because the United National Congress is a party that listens to the voices of the people, as we are a people-centered party. Tonight, we will hear as to what are your issues, your concerns, what you would like to hear in the budget. Your concerns shall also be recorded as we have a recorder here. Your concerns shall also be compiled and shall be given to the political leader, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, because the UNC led by Kamla Prasad Bisesa has been doing these consultations year after year after year. And she has been able to speak in the parliament and talk about what the people have had to say about what the budget is about and what failure the People's National Movement led by Dr. Keith Rowley and this government has been doing to this nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to be long because as I said, today is about you because we are a party that cares. We are a party led by a caring leader, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, Senior Counsel. We have two dynamic speakers with us. I would like to now invite one of our young speakers, a gentleman by the name of Jade Mark. He is a young researcher at the University of the West Indies. He's coming especially to focus and speak to you on youth and the economy and many other factors that is affecting this nation. Ladies and gentlemen, join with me in a round of applause and we welcome Mr. Jade Mark.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Chair, and others for the opportunity to just share very briefly with you tonight, because the reality is that tonight is about each and every one of you. It's about the constituents of the joint Digger Martin area. It's about hearing what is on your heart and understanding what is your need as we go into the budget season later this year. At this time, I just want to briefly share a couple of things from my vantage point. As Chairman Baig would have stated, I'm at the University of the West Indies in a staff capacity. And in our vantage point, we see some very unique, but some very troubling things at the university. We see some very troubling things amongst our youth population beyond the university. Firstly, when you look at the PNM's policy over the last few years, particularly policies in education and how it has affected our students, those who are going into university, those who are going writing the SAA, those who are writing CSEC, CAPE, we see blaring facts, and facts are very, very stubborn things. The reality is that under the People's Partnership government, we were distributing upwards of 95,000 laptops to the children of our nation every single year. Now, under this PNM government, is less than 7,000. What we have now is a generation of young persons over the last few years, especially with the pandemic, who have become under-equipped and unequipped to take on the challenges of education that has, in the world, in the global climate, has moved to digitization, while our children have been left behind because of this PNM government. Furthermore, the fact that the UNC has built 100 schools during their tenure. Compare that to the PNM. I challenge anyone in the room to give me a list on their hand. Count on your hand how many schools the PNM has built for the children of this nation. I dare each and every one of you. I'm sure nobody would be able to, because quite simply they haven't. And if it's not that they're not building schools, they're dropping projects. That's the other problem. That UNC left a number of key projects for schools for our children in areas that need it. And as the PNM has come into power from 2015 and have continued their policy to 2024, they have dropped these projects, and there are so many schools now that are scrap yards. There are schools now that are, the only purpose of society is that they offer galvanized to be stolen in certain areas of Trinidad and Tobago, particularly throughout the East-West corridor. Beyond just the schools, when you think about our children's education, when you think about rewarding our children's success, rewarding their hard work, you think about scholarships. Under the People's Partnership, we were delivering more than 400 scholarships a year. How many scholarships are being delivered today? The scholarship system I can say that as a fact, as a victim of it. The scholarship system has been replaced by this ghost bursary system. I say it's a ghost bursary system because the UNC has challenged the government on several occasions over the last few years to publish and make clear who are involved in this process, what is the criteria for receiving these bursaries, and we are yet to get a clear answer. The reality is that the PNM has they shifted the paradigm, quite ironically, from a system that worked and rewarded our best and brightest students, regardless of their socioeconomic background, to a system where you just have to hope you have the right connections and you're in the right place and the right time to get a little help to go to university. That is PNM policy for you. Psychosocial support in our schools, and not just in the secondary schools, at the tertiary level. The psychosocial support system has completely collapsed under this government. The reality is that schools don't have counselors. There are certain principals when you call them up, and I have throughout the length and breadth of this country, and you survey them and you ask them, when last you've had a counselor? How many counselors you have on staff? There are many schools and many principals that will tell you, what is that? They don't know what is that. The Ministry of Education has not reached out to them. They have made several requests. No staffer has been put to them. And there are many schools that are going through this wave of violence that need counselors, that need that psychosocial support, and is nowhere to be found. No matter how many times they call the ministry, email the ministry, some of them they meet DPS and they meet the minister, and still only words, and not a single hand to help many of these schools throughout the length and breadth of this country, including schools here in this Diego Martin region. I know a lot of you parents are here. You're shaking your heads because you know it's a fact. There are no counselors in the school. There's no psychosocial support. When your children are being bullied, when your children are subject to violence, the support system from the school is not there. And that is a PNM policy. But moving on from the children of the school age and moving to those young adults at the university, and this is where it gets a bit more personal for me because we deal with them on a daily basis, so we see what is happening. We see that there are students who have let the despair get the better of them, quite simply because there's no economic opportunity for a lot of them. The reality is that we have young, bright students who don't have the proper networks, who don't have the proper financial backing from their family, but are hard workers and are doing well at university, but feel hopeless because when they graduate, they don't know what comes next. Many of them, they'll sign up for OJT and they'll hope and they'll pray they get a call from OJT. I have colleagues who signed up for OJT, for the on-the-job training program, straight out of university with first-class honors. And they got a call in 4 years. They got a call in 4 years to take a position that was obviously lower than which they found themselves and fought to be in the first place. Economic opportunities are drying up. Students and our young people are becoming desperate. And you see the depression on campus. You see the effect it is having on our young people. You see the effect it's having on our youth that are at university. The reality is that depression is becoming more and more of a problem, and ironically, because there's a lack of psychosocial support, that is just creating this vicious cycle where students and young people feel hopeless because they don't know what's coming next. They don't know when they're going to get a job. They don't know if they're going to get a well-paying job. They don't know if they'll ever be able, in many cases, to be able to put their degree, their passion, what they want to do into a job and into an effort. I work with the social sciences, and we have so many students, bright students, economics students, political science students, law students, who are doing clerkship and internship and clerical work for 5, 10, some cases now going on to 15 years because opportunities dried up the moment the PNM came into power. The reality is that there's nothing wrong with clerical work. There's nothing wrong with an internship. But that could only provide so much. As you go towards your 30s, you don't want to be caught in that same entry-level trap. But because there is just no opportunities, because things are so comically corrupt under this PNM system, we have many of our young people trapped and in despair. And there are many young people, obviously, and we will hear a lot about this later tonight, and we will hear about this from you all. There are many of our young people, because there's a lack of opportunity, because they don't know what comes tomorrow, they don't know how they are going to feed themselves, and in some cases, how they're going to feed their families, they turn to a life of crime. They quite simply turn to the easy money, because it's either the easy money or no money at all. And that is the unfortunate cycle the PNM has trapped our nation's youth into. And you will hear some figures, you will hear some data throughout the night, and you will realize that this is not a problem today for tomorrow. The PNM has so poorly run our economy, they have so poorly bankrupted our nation's resources, that this cycle is going to continue for a while. It's going to take a whole lot of effort when the UNC assumes government next year to turn that ship around. It can't be overnight. But without going too far and without trampling on anybody else, and in excitement to hear the opinions of those who are here, I will close with that. It's a bit of a grim message, but I could close also with a guarantee of positivity. When you see the UNC team here tonight, when you see the UNC team on the walkabout, when you see the UNC team in other constituency, I can give you that guarantee that that is a competent, hardworking, and honest team whose best interests of Trinidad and Tobago are their best interests. It is a team that know that next year they have a hard job to do, but are willing and, most importantly, capable to have that job done. So with that, I will hand you over back to the chair, and thank you all for your time.
Let's hear a round of applause for this young man again. You see, that is the United National Congress led by Kamla Prasad Bisesa, where we also highlight young professionals like Jade. Jade, I want to congratulate you, sir, and well done. Let's give her a round of applause again. And Jade is correct that in 2025, if not before, the only option for Trinidad and Tobago is the United National Congress led by one leader of this one party, Kamla Prasad Bisesa Senior Council. That is the person to take us, and she has been doing these things. She has initiated. When this started, we went from Arima. We went as far as Faizavar and Point Fortin. Now we have come as far west as Diego Martin. I want to recognize as well as a former candidate of ours, Mr. John Lakis. It's a pleasant good night to see you, sir. A stalwart of this area, man. Ladies and gentlemen, this young man talked a lot about especially our education sector and how poor our education sector is. This government has not built a single school. Where I am from, in St. Joseph, a school that was built under the People's Partnership in St. Joseph has yet to be opened, to the point where the roof, it was taken away by the real owners. I say nothing more on that. What I will say to you, my friends, is I'm bringing to you now a gentleman who's a firebrand, a man who has Paula Gopi's spoon in his Senate hopping, because she may be the Minister of Trade and Industry, but bringing to all you the real man who knows about trade and industry. I bring in to you a man who will talk to you about the economy affecting our trade and industry, affecting our economy, affecting our tourism. I speak of you of no other than Senator Damian Lyda. Let's welcome him.
Thank you. Good night, Diego Martin. Let me hear you. Yes, Diego Martin in the house. We could come down in Rowley backyard and ramage on him. We could do that. The UNC could do that. He can't come in we backyard. We gonna run him out. But let me say this to you tonight. I listened to this young man here speak about education and the schools that were left unfinished. 106 schools built under the People's Partnership. 6 of them, if I'm not mistaken, incomplete. And we just heard our chairman, and thank you for introducing me in the way you did. You may have overrated me, but thank you nonetheless. I'm only a humble servant of the people of Trinidad and Tobago and, of course, United National Congress. But Chairman Baig is correct. that was a school that was left unfinished and is now literally a feeding ground for cows to eat grass and goat. But what we must never forget is that under Kamla Prasad Pisesa, the fact that she never practiced victimization of constituencies, whether you were PNM and UNC, we must never forget, right up on the hills of Paramin, a high school and a primary school built, completed, and opened under the People's Partnership for the children of Paramin when they sat down under a shed taking rain for years. We must never forget that it's Kamla who did that. But yet this government can't come and finish schools. But I won't be speaking too much about schools tonight because I have a lot of other things to speak about. You see, because we only 2 speakers tonight, the main purpose of tonight is to listen to you, the people of Diego Martin. To hear what you expect in the budget debate, what you expect this government to bring in the budget debate, what you would like the government to bring, especially given that they failed to bring it to you for the past 9 years they've been in power. So we want to hear this specifically from you and the way in which Diego Martin has been impacted by failed governance under this PNM and a failed economy with failed budgets that have been read year after year, broken promises of the PNM. But to do so, it is good for me to give you a bit of an overview or a macro view of the economy, and then we will drill down into Diego Martin. Now, so when this government comes in their 9th year of government to tell you all the different things they tell you, if you hear the different themes, they come every year with a different theme. I think last year's budget debate was building capacity for diversification. You hear that? Building capacity for diversification. 9 years into government, you now come to the people of Trinidad and Tobago to speak about diversification of the economy. So 9 years as the energy sector has been in collapse, this government has failed to diversify the economy outside of oil and gas. And what has that caused? What has been the cost to our economy? The economy has now declined under this government by more than 20% since they've taken office. And they can't come and blame COVID-19 anymore because it was declining before COVID-19, it declined in COVID-19, and it continues to decline after COVID-19. So they can't come and use that excuse this year. So more than 20% decline in economy. And why? Because when you see more than $1.7 billion in foreign US dollars in foreign direct investment leave our shores, those are companies that fuel this economy and drove this economy, and they're gone. 1/3 of the Point Lisas industrial estate shut under this government. Ansar Matal packed up and gone. Lever Brothers, a manufacturing plant that was there since I was born, since I was seed to plant, closed, shuttered, gone. Under this government. Under this government, we have seen a debt to GDP ratio rise to almost 80%, if I'm not mistaken, under the People's Partnership. It was under 50%. So they continue to rack up debt after debt. How much debt? We are now bordering $140 billion in debt. I made this newspaper here. Thank you, my brother. Let me tell you this. Look at this. This is the Guardian, Business Guardian of July 24th, 2024. And last month. Look what it says. Government borrows $14 billion in 9 years. 9 months, sorry. In 9 months. Thank you for correcting me. You know why I said yes? I couldn't believe they could rack up that debt in 9 months. But that is the reality of the situation we see under this government. They are now bordering $140 billion when Kamla Prasad Bisesa left government in 2015. It was under $70 billion. Under $70 billion. So this government has almost doubled debt in 9 years. And have you seen anything for that money spent? Have you seen anything for that money borrowed? You seen it? Can you touch it? Can you feel it? Can you see it? Can you smell it? But we've seen plenty of ministers dancing and whining and feeling nice, getting fat. Look at me, I lost some weight. I lose 20 pounds. We struggling, boy. Me and the UNC and the rest of the country struggling. While them fellas, their friends and their financiers laughing at the bank. Brothers and sisters, and how has this government dealt with the decline in revenues, the decline in the economy? Because we know the manufacturing sector overall in this country has declined by more than 16%. We know that this government is running budget deficits year after year after year. You know what a budget deficit is? Let me explain it to you if you don't know. The government decides this is how much revenue, this is how much you're going to spend in any given year. And then they'll come and tell you how much they are going to bring in through taxation, through sale of fuel, etc. And if your revenues are less than your expenditure, if you spend more money than you make a deficit. This government has ran deficits year after year after year. Came to us in 1 year and tell us we had a little surplus, but we know they mama guide us because we know they didn't pay back VAT refunds. I'll talk about that shortly. Over 7 billion in VAT refunds they didn't pay back. We know there was more than $5 billion in loan in money owing to contractors they didn't pay back. We know there are loans where the capital payments they did not pay back. Colin Imbert held back the payment of these things. The Dwen from Diego Martin West held back. And he held back expenditure so that he could mama you to think we have a surplus. Mama you to think we didn't have a deficit. And if we had actually paid back what we owed, the loans, the VAT refunds to manufacturers, if we had paid that back, we would have been in billions of dollars in deficit. But they come to us in the budget debate, and we just checked it, in the last budget debate, to tell us there will be a deficit of $5.2 billion. But once again, this government will come in the budget debate to try to mama-guy us. They couldn't mama-guy us. They said 5.2. But guess what? They came back to us in the mid-year review just a couple months ago to ask for a supplemental appropriation of approximately $2.6 billion. In other words, they needed an additional $2.6 billion to take them to the rest of the year. So what does that mean? That means you have to add that $2.6 billion to the over $5 billion in deficit that they expect. So that means they're looking at an $8 to $9 billion deficit. And I put it to you, if you come Port of Spain tomorrow and you listen to Senator Mark, he will give you some economic numbers that will show you that it ain't going to be $9 billion. It will be in excess of $9 billion in deficit. And how are they funding this deficit? Brothers and sisters, it's important for you all to know these things. Because as you get up to speak, you have to know what they're doing with your money. You have to know what they're doing with your economy. And you know what your money is? Your money is your tax money that you pay. Your money is the money we put in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund that belongs to each and every one of us, all 1.4 plus million people in this country. That is our money. And that is meant for a rainy day. Well, boy, it ain't no rainy day, no. It's storm under this PNM government. Storm, hurricane, typhoon, disaster, tornado under this government. Because how are they funding this loss of revenue? This lack of US dollars foreign exchange in this country, how are they funding it? By raiding the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. That's one way. You know, Kamala Prasad Bissessa added to the Heritage and Stabilization Fund every year for 5 years. You know what this government has done? In 2016, 2017, 2020, 2021, 2023, and then they come again in this year now, 2024, to pull from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. This is a serial rapist of the fund. That's what they are. They are raping our fund. That's what they're doing. Because we are not doing it with consent, and we can't see where the money going. Brothers and sisters, we saw them withdraw $160 million US this year from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. 160 million US. And you have to stand up in a bank every day to try to get $100 or $200 in US dollars. That is what they've done. And if they haven't raided the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, you know what else they've done? Borrow, 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 borrow. I just showed you $14 billion in 9 months is what they borrowed. This government. Quiet, quiet, quiet. They didn't say a word. Quiet, they didn't say a word. Brothers and sisters, why are we here? Why are we in this mess today? We are in this mess today because this government, being as lazy as they are with a sloth-like way of working, an attitude towards working, wanting to spend their time on golf course and an airplane in front of kings and queens when the people in this country suffering. Why are we here today? Because we have a rudderless government. A government that has no plan, a government that has no vision, a government that has no expectation for this country or care. Because if this government really truly cared about this country, after 9 years of governance, seeing how uncertain the geopolitics is in the world, seeing how uncertain the oil price and the gas prices in the world, they would have used the money we have made from the oil and gas sector to diversify our economy. Just like what we see in United Arab Emirates. Just like what we see in Dubai. Dubai is a desert and they created a tourism oasis. They used their money to diversify the economy. But what have we seen? While the manufacturing sectors declined by more than 16%, the government comes beating their chest, telling you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that the non-energy manufacturing sector has grown. They mamaga you, as if they did something to grow this sector. I'm a businessman. I engage with business people in this country and pay attention to what the chambers say, to pay attention to what the business people in this country say. And I put it to you that the only growth that is coming out of non-energy manufacturing in this country is on the backs of hard-working entrepreneurs who have risked their money, who in desperation to survive in this economy has gone out to other markets outside to export. Because as their business shrinks in Trinidad, they go outside looking for more business to survive. And I applaud business people in this country for holding this country together. Because business people in this country, private sector in this country, is the last bastion of income coming in, of promise coming in when a government has failed you. If it were not for this private sector, this country would have fallen apart a long time ago. Because it is the private sector that is taking the risks today in an environment in this country that is economically insecure and that is becoming more and more difficult to operate in. Under this government, the ease of doing business in this country has plummeted. There was a time when the World Bank did a measure of the ease of doing business. When Kamala Persad-Bissessar left office in 2015, we were 67th in the world in the ease of doing business. The last time the reading was done was a few years ago. The World Bank has now stopped the reading. But about 3 years ago, the last reading put Trinidad and Tobago under the PNM at 105 in the world. That's what they've dropped us to. It has become more and more difficult to conduct business in this country. Not only for the big businessmen, because they have the money to be able to get them through the red tape and the bureaucracy. But what about the small, medium, and micro business people trying to survive with a small business, a small little ice cream manufacturing plant, a small parlor, a mini mart, a seamstress? What happened to these small, medium, and micro businesses in this country? They are struggling to survive. More than 6,000 SMEs shut their doors after the COVID pandemic. And many more have been holding on for their life. And I put it to you that hundreds more have shut their doors after those 6,000. Because every day we go in the malls, we see vacant stores in the malls. We see places for rent everywhere we go. We're not blind. How can the government come and tell you it's all going well? But everywhere you go, you see for rent signs, you see for sale signs. People packing up their bags and leaving Trinidad and Tobago by the thousands. So SMEs have shut their doors. Why? It has become harder than ever to conduct business. To get approvals from T and Tech, 4 times harder, and WASA 4 times harder. To get tongue and country approvals, near impossible. To open a bank account, to open a business, when the government system shut down, can't even open a business. And all the difficulties with the port, all the difficulties with food and drug, everything has become harder and harder to conduct business in this country. But you know, let me tell you the 2 of them that hitting all business people hard. The foreign exchange crisis in this country. We understand and we know we are living it today. Take yourself back to the 1980s. Who could remember when we were in a foreign exchange crisis, when it was then a PNM government that took our foreign reserves to 0? All you remember that? To 0. And if you wanted foreign exchange, you had to buy it on the black market. Brothers and sisters, let me tell you this here now. Kamala Prasad, the assessor. And I keep calling this lady's name because when they start to tell me about Kamala must go, and Kamala must this, and Kamala must that, that lady ran a government that was doing well. That really ran an economy that was doing well. We had foreign exchange. We had 50,000 more jobs. We had foreign direct investment under Kamala Prasad, the assessor. You know what else we had? We had $10.459 billion in foreign reserves. US dollars in foreign reserves. You heard the number I just called for you there? You know how much we have 9 years later under this government? $5.36 billion. This government has wiped out about half of our foreign reserves in this country in 9 years. And if we give them another 5 years, they will wipe out the other half. Just like they did in the 1980s. Because when 1.7 billion US dollars in foreign direct investment exits our shores, when people in this country lose confidence in the economy and take their US dollars outside, that is what happens. When a government fails to diversify the economy, that is what happens. When tourism declines, that is what happens. That is why we struggle to get foreign exchange today. And that is why we're in a crisis. So when I hear Stuart Young in the midterm review say that we are not in a foreign exchange crisis, we have 6 months cover, mama guy. When I hear Imbert come and tell us all is well, I say to you, where is 50% of our foreign reserves? And I put it to you, when they borrow 750 million US dollars, because they took a loan for 750 million US dollars, 5 billion TT, but 750 million US. They raid the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, as I told you, by 160 million US dollars. That is how they are propping up the foreign exchange now. If we didn't take that loan, which you have to pay back, by the way, all our to pay back that with interest. And if we didn't take your money from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, we have much less US dollars today. Last month I got $5,000 in the bank. And I have a business. That big business is getting $20,000. How are they going to survive? Black market. What this government is forcing business people to do, let me tell you. Because if you buy US dollars on the black market, I want to tell you, you're breaking the law. It is against the law to buy US dollars on the black market. So in essence, what this government has done by the mismanagement of the economy is caused every businessman, big and small, to break the law in this country. Force them to break the law just to survive. And speaking of breaking the law, that's where I get to my second most devastating part of the ease of doing business in this country, and that's the crime situation. Brothers and sisters, crime is impacting every one of us. Whether we are business people, whether we work in a company, whether we are simple house husband, housewife. Because I have plenty house husband and housewife, because plenty unemployed. Plenty unemployed right now. But crime is a major factor in the ease of doing business today. It costs you today thousands of dollars in camera equipment, security equipment, money movers to move your money. If you're trying to hustle a little business, you have to move your money around, otherwise you're risking. They're coming in to rob you. Insurance has gone up, because if they come to rob you, or people desperate, take your money out your cash register and go, you have to call for insurance. So insurance rates up, cost of security gone up, and then your lives are at stake. And let me tell you, no amount of money will bring back your life. When this government has failed you, where we are seeing more than 370 murders today, this year, we're going for a new record. Over almost 5,000 murders since this government has come into power. And Ethelbert Hines is still the Minister of National Security. And, well, Batman and Robin. Batman and Rob Hen. Batman and Rob Hen. I mean, at the end of the day, we're laughing at this. But what this shows me is that our Prime Minister is making a mockery of all of us. They think you are stupid. They think you are stupid. They think they could just gallery a minister who sitting down there, twiddling thumbs for 4 years, and gallery him around, and we gonna be all right now. The only thing that I might see happening is that possibly the new minister may bring a cup of coffee for Ethelbert Hines to keep him awake. And we might have a man who don't fall asleep so much on the job. But that is a situation that's impacting our businesses today. When we see crime damaging, and that comes right down to us in Diego Martin. How dangerous has it become right here in Diego Martin? This is a PNM stronghold. And a large percentage of the murders that happen in this country happen right here where we are. The break-in and entering, the robberies at businesses, right here. The ease of doing business in Diego Martin, gone, you can't get water. Pothole, mashing up your car. This is what we are seeing happening in Diego Martin today. How many places we see around Diego Martin going vacant as well? How many places? How much unemployment do we have in Diego Martin today? We are from here. Go over the blocks and see how much youngsters are sitting down doing nothing today. And you know why? Because of the example this government makes. When they come to you to tell you they're going to spend $400 and something million on a Chinese firm to build houses. When those same youth men need those jobs. The most expensive company bid from any company, after all of our local firms bid less and employ local labor, we give it to I have nothing against foreign companies, you know. I want foreign companies to come here and invest. But when we could do something ourselves, brothers and sisters, let us do it ourselves. Let our children, let our youth get jobs. That is why we're in the mess we're in today under this government. Brothers and sisters, as I try to come down to a close, I want to touch on one more thing for business people in this country that impact even the small business people who want to try to get into export, who want to try to get into a little manufacturing. And that's the matter of VAT refunds. I have been going after Colin Burt for the last 4 years on this matter of VAT refunds. Just last year, there was over $7.5 billion owing to manufacturers in this country. That's money that belongs to the manufacturers, not to the government. The government did not pay back the manufacturers $7.5 billion. They took out a bond when we put them, when this UNC put it back against the wall. Imbert said to us, he will take out a bond for $3 billion and he will spend between $1 to $2 billion from the consolidated fund to pay down on that $7.5 billion owing to manufacturers. That stops manufacturers from expanding their plants, from employing people, from buying raw materials. Takes away from their liquidity, your liquidity if you have a business. And this guy comes and says, first of all, they never gave the $1 to $2 billion, so he calls it mama guy. And then they took $3 billion in bond. You know what a bond is? A bond is like a loan, a promise to pay back. And they took a bond, which now the government has to pay back in 3 years and will cost you, the taxpayers, over $86 or $87 million in interest. You have to pay that because the government failed to pay back what they were meant to pay back under law. That is the mismanagement by this government. And it goes on and on and on. I'm going to spend one more minute and I go on. But let me tell you this. If you think diversification in trade was a failure, you all see what's happening in agriculture? Agriculture has been in constant decline under this government. We continue to have a food import bill of over $5 billion we spent to import food in this country instead of growing it. I have a number here I wanted to say to you. You know, we constantly talk about percentages. Agriculture declined by this percent, that percent. Let me break it down to the real basic for you. Listen to this. I'm breaking it down to the hectares of land used today by farmers versus under Kamala Prasad predecessor. Hectares of land used to plant green vegetables in 2015 was 3,450.7 hectares. You know how much it was in 2022 under the PNM government? 2,371. So there's a decline of 34% of farmland being used today under this government. 34% less land being planted for vegetables in this country. When you look at root crops in 2015, it was 856. In 2022, 781. 17% decline, but Rowley gone Ghana for cassava. Rowley gone Ghana for cassava, but we have a 17% decline in the use of land for root crops. I will say more in the budget debate on agriculture. And then in tourism. Failure again. Failure again. You want to blame the COVID pandemic. The rest of the world has gotten back up after the COVID pandemic. Places like Antigua, booming. Places like Mexico, booming in tourism. Listen to our numbers. Carnival arrivals in 2015 under Kamala Prasad predecessor. 48,107 people came to this country, spending US dollars. And under this government in 2024, when they boast about mothers of carnival, 35,548. So that's a 28% decline in our carnival. But overall tourism, when we look at total air and sea, in 2015 we had 442,167 people coming to our shores, spending money in hotels, spending money in restaurants, spending US dollar to buy all kind of souvenirs in Port of Spain and so forth. Under 2023, you know that dropped to 310,237. A 30% decline in tourism, but they want to spend 1.2 billion of your money on an airport wing in Tobago. I have no problem with Tobago getting a nice, beautiful, big airport. But you have to show me the people you're going to land in that airport. You have to show me the hotels that the people are going to sleep in. Because you come 3 budgets in a row to tell us about hotels building in Tobago. We didn't see a brick lay yet. And it took a THA under Farley Augustine to come to take over the projects of 2 hotels that under the PNM government, they failed to finish and spent over $40 million and couldn't open it. And it's Farley that came along to rescue the day. People in Tobago must never forget the 20 years of sufferation under the PNM. But I ain't getting involved in that. That is their problem over there. So brothers and sisters, I have spoke to you about diversification of this economy. I have told you how they have failed in tourism, failed in agriculture, failed in manufacturing, failed to diversify the economy, and what has been the result of that. An economy in decline, in free fall, where every single citizen in this country now, with the exception of a few, loved ones by Rowley and his regime, suffering and struggling. And when this government doesn't have the money to pay salaries in the public service, when this government doesn't have the money to put drugs, CDAP drugs available, medical care for you, finish schools, you know where they get the money from? They come right back to you for the money. Because they tax, tax, tax. Brothers and sisters, this is a government that I said in the beginning has lost, have no vision, have no direction, have no mission. So all they know how to do, all Imbert and his clown cart knows how to do is to tax you. They remove subsidies. They remove subsidies 6 times on fuel. So you paying more at the pump. You! They take away social programs, milk grant, food grant, baby grant, school feeding program. You suffering. And coming in the last year now to try to tell you about books. They're going to give you some books for your children. They increase business levy for the business people, green fund levy for the business people, tire tax. And now, come the end of this year, partner, don't listen. In September, October, I think it's October, you have to pay property tax coming for you now. Property tax is coming for you now. So that is all this government knows how to do. But while they're charging all your property tax, remember this, commercial, industrial, there are no property tax to pay. There are no property tax to pay. They ain't get around to them yet. They come in to tax you, but everybody else get away scot-free. Tax, tax, tax. Brothers and sisters, as I come to a close, we are in dire straits. As Rudal Munilal says, and I like to use his quote nowadays, it's a nice quote. He says, Trinidad, what is it? Trinidad is no longer, is almost unrecognizable from the paradise that Kamala Persad-Bissessar left in 2015. It's almost unrecognizable today. It is depressing, it is heart-wrenching to see our economy get to this stage, to see our social fabric destroyed before our eyes, to see our children suffer, and parents trying to feed their children suffer, and to see people live in fear under this government. We in United National Congress remain committed to holding this corrupt and draconian PNM government to account. Just as we exposed Jindial, just as we are exposing the contractor for 400-something million, just as we continue to go into the parliament, senators and those in the lower house that have been elected as your representatives, just as we hold this government account day in, day out, and expose them every step of the way, remember, brothers and sisters, you, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, have to hold your government to account as well. So you see, come 2015, when you have the opportunity to speak with your index finger, riot with your index finger, hold your government to account. And that is why now, as I end here, we are giving you the opportunity to speak up now. Come to the mic and speak up. Hold your government to account. Say what you want to see. We, the people, we, the soldiers in the UNC, in the Senate and the lower house, will fight your battle in the parliament. Brothers and sisters, I thank you for the opportunity to say a few words, and I look forward to hearing from you all here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear it for Senator Lida again. Now, we are actually running well on time because we want to end at a very reasonable and proper time because we want you all to also go home safe because we know how crime is affecting this country, how crime is affecting our citizens. I want to tell you, when I keep hearing about crime in this country, especially when we hear a prime minister who shares very light on it, especially with that of home invasions, I take that as an insult. You know why? I am a victim of a home invasion. Someone came into my home, and I know what it feels like when I see people are affected when they talk about home invasions. And I want to say tonight that no matter what is put in national security, guess what? They will fail because we have a failing government led by Keith Rowley. And they have to go. Fitzgerald Hines must go. Scotland must go. That whole government must go. And only government that must save this country is the United National Congress, led by Kamala Persad-Bissessar. And she is going back into government. Whoever says otherwise, well, we have an answer for them. And that is only one thing. Kamala Persad-Bissessar will be our leader today. She will be our leader tomorrow. And she will be Prime Minister in 2025. And I must say tonight, chairs are filled. In fact, our Northwest Coordinator, and I must recognize our very hard-working Northwest Coordinator, Mr. Eli Zaku. He had to go and bring some chairs again. So ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the time where it is about you. As we said, these consultations about you, the people. Because the United National Congress is a people-centered party. So I would like to welcome you all as you open the floor, that you come and you speak, you come here to the podium, you give your name, where you're from. You have 3 minutes as we are speaking on budget issues, so you can raise concerns on budget issues. If you have questions for the panelists, you can raise questions, or if you have points that you would like to be taken coming from the Diego Martin area, our Northwest Coordinator is taking the notes, which shall be taken and given to the Leader of the Opposition for in her budget response. So I'd like to invite whoever is the first person who's coming, feel free to come.
Good night again, everyone. Still in Chase, Chairman Diego Martin West. Before I get to the budget part, with a borough now, Diego Martin Borough, not a regional corporation. Garbage collection, we're supposed to do better than that. Water distribution. Heavy equipment. We have a borough, we do have a gully soccer. We don't have proper cherry pickers, disaster unit management. They need proper equipment. Dengue fever is here. They don't have equipment to spray. They don't have the spray itself, they don't have the van, they don't have nothing. So I hope in the budget that Diego Martin Regional Corporation get the relocation so they can spend money and buy those equipment. And speaking about relocation, I hope they don't segregate and give Diego Martin the money they're supposed to get. Give Porter Spain the money they're supposed to get. And Opuch West, Opuch West, Separia, Pinal, Kuva, Shoguanas, don't starve them now in the budget. Give them what they're supposed to get, show the board. All regional corporation and borough, give them the money, let them buy the equipment and do what they had to do. I would like to see in the budget for the farmers, cheaper seedlings, chemicals, salt and spray and things so they can do the farming and get cheaper goods in the market. Look, Lisa, dear Lisa, it's your thing that we go in the market. So if we can give the farmers what they're supposed to get, things going up. Concerning animals, farmers, people missing whole cow, they're missing goat, they're missing chicken, all kind of things. So I would like to see in the budget that the minister relocate some kind of funds to the pre-larceny squad in the police station. Because when farmers go to report the missing animal, the missing crops, most of the time when they go, and these fellas thieving these animals, is hours in the night, early in the morning. And when they go to the police station, and then the police station closed, or nobody to take the report. So under the National Security Ministry, I would like to see some kind of money go to that part of the police. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sterling. And let us take note. Sterling Chase is the first ever UNC alderman we've had in the Diego Martin Regional Corporation. Well, it's now a borough, but it seems as though them need a borough thing to get done in the borough. Because they can't even borrow time. Yes, so could we have the second speaker, please?
I want to say a pleasant good evening to my political leader and to those at the head table. Senator Leader, this quality political teacher, but when you talk, who ain't understand when your head had to be hard like this time? I want to speak about crime. Me and this lady here, who is on the executive, Keisha, living in the heart of it. And she could vouch to say that police presence does only be present when something happens. We living in the most dangerous place right now. That is last night they killed a man in Powder Magazine in Cocorite. Like every week they must kill somebody in Cocorite. And because of this, it's poor police presence in the area. When it comes to street lights, I report one street light 3 years now. It ended up to 5 street lights gone in one area around by me. Sorry, I am Karen Thomas, the chairperson for Diego Martin Central. I still want to get to the point because we only have 3 minutes. Water problem is one of the major problems. Some areas in Diego Central get water twice a week. A man in Victoria Gardens told me that. He said he know you also. He's a teacher in one of them prestigious in St. Anthony's. You know it is? Right. My area in Cocorite, well, the pump I got it from, the water does go 2 days a week. If the pump blow, water ain't coming for the whole week because was afraid to come in Cocorite. But when they come in to cut your water, they come in with police to cut your water. You understand? Waste disposal, whereby the lady who try home, stretching from here to Mobile by Sterling Chase, high up upon the lady who try one of the sick children that is behind that wall on the both sides. Joblessness, again for the youths, is a major, major problem in Cocorite. Sterling Chase talk for West. Northeast will come up just now to talk about the same issues that I show is the problem. The problem is poor representation from this government. We don't see the MP. Sometimes people ask me, is the MP name? Imagine, I just have to think, what is this man name? Because we don't see him at all. We sure to see him 2025. And we see him 5 years ago. The councillor, listen, this government is in a mess. And if we do not bring Kamala Prasad-Busesa back into government, sad be our portion. You hear senators see people leaving? People just waiting for 2025 to see what's going on. People not organizing their passport and visa and all kind of things to get out, you know. Because it's nothing for the poor man in this country. You have a degree, you can't get a work. You don't have a pass, you can't get a corporation work to say or CPF, work on nothing, 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 nothing. And if we do not have jobs or create jobs, crime going to obviously get high. Because the young people frustrated. They have children to mind, they have bills to pay, they're trying to help the mother. You understand? So this district of Diego Martin generally is in a mess where poor representation is concerned. And when you rightfully say, this is a P&M area. We're supposed to have the best. We do have a good road. But I drive through one or two West Street, like West, certain areas, and it have bad road, one or two bad road. Carnage, Diego Martin. I don't go northeast so, but you know, I hear people complaining. So it's like the whole at Diego Martin, where the map gone red and the rest is yellow, is in a total mess is where the red is. If the yellow in a mess, die nothing. Because they like to play a victimization thing, all they vote UNC down, they only get no help. But where the PNM stronghold is, it is in more of a mess than anything they could think about. And I pray God every day that the speculations going on, election might call August, let me say a year from now. And we have to come together, start to mobilize. And start talk about these forms every time I talk, you lie but be fed up on me. Start to create members, talk to people, don't wait until a month or 2 months before election to start to, organize people. It has to start from now. This is not about you alone who's sitting here. This is about you and your community, your family, your friends, your church members. Let's talk politics because everybody have a cry, eh? A woman come ask me if I could get his son in the corporation. You could imagine, I want a corporation of myself. You come in, just because they know others represent the UNC. You understand, they feel I have say, but I understand that. I said, we're not in power. You understand? I said, if we're in power, the necessary help will be there to help those that really need the help and, whatever the case may be. So, my 3 hours is up. The 3 minutes is up. There's so much to talk about. And I think I'll leave him, because I have to drop this girl in Cocorit. And I have to park quite down the road to walk up the road. And it's terrible. The area is the most terrible area right now in the country. So forgive me if I leave early. And we will meet again. Some other meeting is when? Thursday, Friday? Wednesday. So have a blessed night, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can hear the passion in your voice. I understand how you feel, but when you get the corporation work for the lady, you want for me too. I can get work, I could take it. Ladies and gentlemen, while we continue, let me again stress to keep to the 3 minutes, please, as we would like to we want to finish at a reasonable time where everyone can go home safely. Okay, so while I do that, may I ask the next person to get ready to come up?
Good night, members of the head table. Good night, UNC family. Let me first start off by saying thank you to this great party for considering Diego Martin to bring this program here for us so we can voice our concerns. My name is Lisa Maraj, former executive member, also former counselor of the United National Congress. I would like to touch on issues of social programs. This means a lot to me because being a counselor under the leadership of Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, we had to work according to her saying, as we would all know, serve the people, serve the people, serve the people. And one of the many ways that we serve the people is using the social programs that was offered to us for the people. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm also speaking as a mother. Today, we have so many mothers with children who attend in school who do not have food on their table. Under the leadership of Kamala Prasad-Bissessar between 2010 and 2015, if not all, but most of the families who had access to food cards no longer have it under this careless government. Let me also say that we had the opportunity of having someone from Diego Martin. I don't know all who is here from Diego Martin, especially Diego Martin Northeast, would remember that. But we had a resident from Diego Martin who accessed the Children Life Fund, and that person, to be exact, was from Bagatelle in Diego Martin. So let me say thank you to that too from our great party. I would also like to see the baby grant. The baby grant. This government reconsider that baby grant because as I see on a daily basis where people, families, mothers really need help at this point in time. I have a question for Senator, but he don't need to answer me right away, but what is this government doing to generate income? That is a question that is burning for me because I am not coming up with anything other than tax people, tax. So, that is another one. We have reached a point where it is so sad, where we have to see on social media, it have been circulating, where mothers have to go to steal school books. I could safely say, under the leadership of Kamla Prasad Bisesa, we have never witnessed that because everybody was taken care of. It is very sad to see. I don't know if you all saw it, but we have reached that state under this government. Another thing that I would like to also touch on is public transport. Public transport. You see, these are the things that is beneficial to poor people. And this is who I represent here when I stand up, is people who need help. The public transport in Diego Martin is not consistent. When a bus comes for 8 a.m., just calling a time, one would not come until the next 3 to 4 hours. You understand? So the consistency of public transport. Ladies and gentlemen, about a week ago, I would have seen on the news where 1 point something, I'm using the term something because I can't remember exactly how much, 1 point something million dollars was awarded to 3 children. 3 Venezuelan children, 1 point something million dollars of our tax-paying money. The reason why they was awarded that money, it is because they was not kept in a suitable condition. I have no problem with that, okay? But here where's my problem is, where we have children right here can't even get $300 worth of food. You understand? So that is where my problem is. So I am asking this government to please look at their priority, and their priority is the people and the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Let me remind Dr. Rowley and his government that the responsibility of a government is to take care of its people. Let me also say that under the leadership of Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the Ministry of Social Development, we had a lot of great things going on there. We had a lot of great things going on there. I would say that when parents or when mothers could not afford to travel and go to the ministry because they didn't even have transport, some of them, the ministry, representative from the ministry will come to the people. So this is one of the things I would like to say and boast and say that we had access to, and everybody was taken care of. Let me also say that we had houses built in the Bagatelle area, 7 houses under the Ministry of Social Development. So these are some of the things, and I could go on and on and on as a former councillor, that things would have happened under the leadership of Kamla Prasad Bisesa. One of the things too I would like to see in the budget, where more funding will be put into programs such as under the live sports, right, where they had programs with recruiting the youths, and they would, they have to attend a program and they will get a stipend. Now you're encouraging them to do something positive and also teaching them you got to work for your money. So those are some of the things I would like to see they consider in the budget, that putting more funding into these social programs. Thank you.
Senator Leiter has chosen to respond at this time to what Ms. Barrage has raised.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, and Lisa, thank you very much for opening up so much and speaking about the past, what you recall, what you see today. But you see, you ask a very interesting question, which is, what is the government doing to raise revenue? And that's the question we've been asking for the past 9 years. In fact, budget after budget, we go inside the parliament to debate, hoping to hear what the government has done the previous year and what they're going to come to this year to raise revenues. Now, if it's one thing I have learned about this failed PNM government, is the fact that if they have any tiny success, they bring out the whole brass band and play and boast and beat chess. They will come they will cut a ribbon to open a standpipe or a bus shelter. That is what this government will do. Any little success they have, they will come and bring out the brass band. So, if you were to go back into all the last 8 budget debates that we've had in the 8 years of this government, of which 4 I took part in, and this would be my 5th one if the leader so desires me to be a part of it, I will be there asking the same questions that I've asked for the last 4 years. What are you doing to raise revenue? We've seen a decline in tourism, a decline in agriculture. We've seen a decline in overall manufacturing in the country. So, a decline in the finance sector. These are the areas of raising revenue through taxation or through sale of oil and gas, etc. But this government, in their failure to diversify the economy, has depended on an oil and gas sector that has been in decline. And it's been in decline because of geopolitical matters, because of things that are out of our control. So they come and they say, it's not in their control. But when we got the little windfall, when the war in Ukraine started, they surely came and beat their chest to say they got a surplus. But they failed to tell you the surplus came as a result of some spiked prices of oil and gas that came as a result of the war in Ukraine. And that was a short-lived windfall. Outside of that, there has been no real successes that this government can boast about. But what is frightening is that today we see the single largest budget expenditure by this government. Because when they came to the parliament, just in the mid-year review, to ask for an additional $2.6 billion, I think it was, they have taken our budget now to just over $70 billion. We've never seen that type of money spent in a country while at the same time our revenues are in decline. So that is what is frightening. What is even more frightening is when you see them spend $70 billion, don't know where they're getting the added revenues from in terms of diversification, oil and gas, all of that. When you don't see that, you ask yourself the question, how are they going to fund this $70 billion? And I gave you the answer towards the end of my presentation. They're going to borrow, put us into deeper and deeper debt. So I showed you that the revenue stream has been from borrowing, taking us from just under $70 billion to almost $140 billion in debt. The Heritage and Stabilization Fund, reading it, it was, I think, if I recall, the Heritage and Stabilization Fund under Kamala Prasad Bissessar was over $9 billion. It's down to 5-point-something billion today. What is it? Yeah, just about. I don't have the number in front of me. So they've raided that. And then finally, tax. They continue to tax people. So when the private sector, which is the only one showing growth in manufacturing, does something for the country, they come and tax you. And then they come in for your properties as well. That's the answer to your question.
Thank you, Senator Leiter. We'll have the next speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard Isaac. I am an attorney at law and I am from Diego Martin Central. All protocols observed. All protocols observed to the members here. Richard Isaac, I'm an attorney at law. I am from Diego Martin Central. I'm hearing us and I heard the question they asked, what are they doing to raise revenue? Yes, we are mentioning that, but all the mistakes they would have made, but for ourselves, what are we doing when we get into power to raise that revenue? I am saying that there's a lot of things that we can do. One of it is, and that is one of the ideas was put forward to a lot of persons in the Simeon Road community, is that there's a lot of need for like citrus, like lemons, save, and all these things. We could do what the NRR did and plant up all these areas, invest in the youths, make them plant those things, and provide the avenue for them to export these things to bring in revenue for us. I want to make it quick because I have 3 minutes. Another issue is the crime. I heard one of the members speak about crime and the police, not police present. But I believe in you must be able to do not have a big whip over you to do the right thing, right? And I'm going to include a little bit of psychology here. Between the age of 1 to 7 is where every human being develops their, I think that's the sensomotor age, and that's where you develop your foundation in life. And that is who you are throughout your life. In early childhood development, we could introduce that into schools to develop your right side brain, that is your emotional side. And between 1 to 7, it develops who you are. So if between 1 to 7, and we use these programs and develop your right side brain, if I am white, yellow or otherwise as my foundation, all the influences around you develops you further. But as soon as you under stress, pressure, or given a situation where you're forced into a situation, that is who jumps out. You will hear people say, but he's a big politician, he's a lawyer, he's a doctor. And that is his behavior. That is your foundation that jumps out. So if we could introduce that program into early childhood development, it's a big step towards crime. And it teaches you to stay away. If let's say a leader, a community leader, encourages you to, they can encourage 10 persons. If this right side brain is developed, they could only influence about 2 out of 10, as opposed to 9 out of 10. So it's a big step in crime prevention. One other thing is, I was a previous police officer before I came an attorney at law, and one of the issues that's plaguing the police service is that the persons who work really hard, they're not getting promotion. And the persons who sit down and study, get any promotion and not working. So everybody not working now because they get disgruntled. So they have to change. If we get into power, have to change that concept by balancing working hard and education to develop that hard-working aspect in policing to get everyone to work, and thereby giving you that incentive and forcing you to work. Because they have a lot of hard-working police officers, but they get disgruntled now and they're not working, and that is part of the crime. The crime situation now. All right. One other important thing, I know I'm overstepping my 3 minutes, but one quick thing I want to mention as part that we could get into schools is and creating like a revenue for our PAN in this country. We know that when you go into secondary school, we play this flute, and it doesn't make sense to me. I feel that we could introduce the national anthem, our national anthem, that you must be able to play that on a pan, right? In music in school, that is our thing, and that it creates so much jobs for these persons who what's the word for it? Pan tuners. And it creates a lot of jobs for teachers, for young person who good in music and know how to play pan. It creates so much job. And we could even have it so much so, and next way to create revenue, export our pan, like what Japan and these people doing, so that could create revenue for us again. And that would probably answer the question how we could actually create some revenue to bring in or to increase revenue. Yes, we're saying that what they did, and we know not to do what they are doing, but we need to create a way and show the public that a way for us to create revenue and bring a better standard of life back to us. Right? I'm sorry for taking up too much time, everybody.
Thank you very much to my learned friend there. We have the next speaker. Yes? You're all rushing now.
Good night to everyone at the head table. My name is Kenwin Henry. Actually, Lisa Maraj raised something to do with public transportation. And I would look at it like this. The public transportation problem is not in the Diego Martin area. The problem comes from in the Port of Spain area. It comes from dispatch and it comes from information. Dispatch always give the information, both misinformation. And this is the reason why we have this problem where you could never get buses on time running in the Diego Martin area. I also witnessed a gentleman fainted at PTSC compound, waiting on a bus to come to Diego Martin, and the ambulance had to take him to the hospital. And after that happened, that is when they decided to send a bus, and that was like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And he was waiting there from since 2 o'clock. So I also remember at, I believe it was a joint select committee of parliament, questions was asked to PTSC pertaining to those same matters, and they said that they were waiting on buses. The buses never show up to now. You hear people telling you that they have new buses parked up in PTSC compound, right? What was shown recently that I saw on a chat group that I'm on is the inhumane conditions in PTSC, right? And they haven't done anything about that up to now. So I'm asking the question, I would like the government to do something about that, or we would probably have to wait till when we get into government next year and restructure that whole organization. Thank you.
I could only imagine how long it takes for the ambulance to reach them too. Yes, next speaker. And please remember to give your name and where you live, okay?
Oh yes, good evening to the head table and to my goodly audience. I have 4 points on which I would like to ponder. I will try to elaborate on one and touch briefly on 3 others. Now, I am a past public servant, retired some time now. And the last time we got public servants got an increase in their pension is in 2011, and thanks to our UNC for that. Okay? But what I want to say is, why do pensioners, public service pensioners, have to wait for an increase on the whims and fancy of a budget minister? You know, public servants have worked for so many years, 40 years, 30 years, what have you. And you know, when they retire, they have to wait until at a budget time, the budget minister will say, okay, we will give them $200, what the case may be. But I think it is wrong. You know, public servants have worked so hard, 40 years, 50 years, and then after they retire, maybe the union, you know, forgets them and so on. But perhaps there could be a solution. Why I would like to see in the budget that legislation should be passed where public service pensioners can get an increase in their pension every 2 years or 3 years, we are not talking about the quantum, but we are talking they can get an increase 3 years or every 4 years, or perhaps when existing public servants get an increase, they're going to get 3%, 4%, 2%, whatever. We're not worried about the quantum. But at least if you can give them every 3 years, they can get an increase in their pension. At least they will know that they will get an increase in their pension every 3 years or every 2 years. We are not talking about the quantum. So as it stands now, you have public servants can only get an increase at the whims and fancy of a budget minister at budget time. Okay, budget minister comes on the parliament and he says, okay, let's give them $200 and so forth. No, don't do that. For instance, you have this salary review commission comes to parliament every 2 years or every 3 years, and they recommend, salaries for higher public servants. Okay? But, okay, they are working public servants and they are existing higher public servants. But why don't you look at something similar for the existing or the pensioners and so forth? And this is what I would like to see. Perhaps a goodly opposition leader can mention it in a budget reply, or perhaps she can use it for our manifesto for next year's election. I could say more, but I wouldn't say more than that. What I would also like to see in the budget, I mentioned it in a forum I had in a police community meeting, that I think it is high time that the government should try to license auto garages. When you look in rural areas, license garage here, license here, auto garage here, painting here, this, that here. There is a proliferation of auto garages, particularly in the rural areas. And sometimes, if you license them, there's a possibility, the possibility exists that you can sort of reduce the crime. Because when these guys go out and they thief the cars or whatever, they carry it to the licensing offices and they chop it up, and so on and so forth, and they sell it. And, what I am saying is that if you want to open a garage, right? Okay, open it. You will put your picture on the outside, Tom's Garage. Government give you a number, what the case should be, and so on and so forth. And the government will get some revenue because I will charge you a certain amount of money every year for it and so forth. So you have a license so that the officer can walk into your garage and say, hey, I see you have 3 engines in the back there. Tell me something about that. I see you have 2 fenders on the right side. Tell me something about that. And perhaps it will sort of diminish the amount of car theft they have in it, because, you will have to pay a fee, a yearly fee. You will, a police can board you anytime to check and see what you have and so on. So I think it's time we should see that, because when you go up to the basin or you go to the rural areas, garage here, garage here, garage here. And so there's something that the government should really put a handle on and try to consolidate it, or try to, streamline it. And it is something that I think we can also put in the budget, or if not, in our manifesto for the next election, we can also put that in our manifesto. One of the things also, it's a big topic, and I don't think tonight is the night for it. But I think it is time that when we come into office, I should put it that way, is that the government should take a hard look at plastic, trying to get rid of the plastic. We are becoming a plastic nation. You go in the grocery, plastic bag, 90% of what a housewife may buy in the grocery containers plastic and plastic and plastic and plastic. I remember the days in World War I when I used to go to town. You go to a grocery or something, paper bag. And a lot of the African countries today, they don't want plastic. They're going back to pulp. So we should try to see if we could, when we come into office, to do something to minimize the use of plastic in Trinidad and Tobago. And this is what we should do. One of the things I believe that can, help us meet, contain the plastic is to give an incentive for people to collect plastic bottles. It is the same way that a guy may go on the roadside and pick up 2 beer bottle, carry bottle, put it in a bar, cut in the bar and sell it, get $10, $5. If people can get an incentive to collect plastic bottles and do something with it, you find we wouldn't see a plastic bottle. When the East River come down by South, wrap it up. All right, the gentleman said I have to wrap it up. And one thing again, well, I have another point, but I will have to leave that for some other time. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much. What you can do as well, sir, the other point that you have after the meeting, you can definitely meet with Mr. Eli as he's taking down points as well. Thank you very much. We have time for 2 more persons to raise points.
Hello, good night. The head table, pleasant good night. My name is Darren Lafleur. I'm from Carnage. I'm the party organizer for Diego Martin West. I want to pay homage to the rightful Honorable Kamala Prasad Basesa, a true leader, a lioness, fearless. Now, tonight, to me, have a feeling of ambivalence because I'm happy that my party affords me and others to come and speak on a forum like this to highlight the things that you want to see done in your community and in the nation. But then, with that joy, it's kind of short-lived because the sad part of it, I don't think I could recall one of the recommendations coming from on this side that this present government has heeded to or accepted. So that brings a feeling of ambivalence, right? But still, nonetheless, here am I. Tonight, my brothers touch on it a bit. Coming to Carnage, as I say, I'm from Carnage. The Western Main Road in Carnage, I feel is one of the worst main roads in the Port of Spain and environs. And funnier, exactly from in front of Dr. Rowley office down to, let's say about Beard Street. Yeah. The entire Carnage area, the road is the worst. But I'll give only a joke. In the day before the 2020 election, a spokesman on behalf of Dr. Rowley went up Big Yard to tell the residents on Big Yard, Dr. Rowley said the money passed for the road because the people of Big Yard been clamoring for a road. So the Prime Minister said the money passed. Well, we in 2024, still no road. So, like the money passed back. So, I really don't have much confidence in this government. You know, I really do have confidence. I'm saying it, and I'm saying it from in my heart. I believe we need to take notes on all the things we want to see done in our community and in our country, and we have to do it ourselves when we assume office, right? Because besides the road, water is an issue. Dr. Rowley is my MP from 1991, and is when Kamala government was in power. Up Big Yard, Smith and Landsmith got water. I'm telling all of that. Long ago as a child, when you go up the hill, like you say you go and check your friend, four of you go up the hill and check your friend. When you ask for water, you get 1 cup of water that size you have to share. When Kamala was in office, it had 2 families, I wouldn't call the name. They bought the pool, there's water up on the hill, they have pool. Now every day, almost every day when you look on Facebook, the same people on the hill only saying, water, they want water. So I don't know what is the problem, you know what I mean? Well, we know what is the problem. Another thing is, as you all touch on education, Point Commander RC School, well, they call it St. Peter's RC School. That is the school I attended, me and my siblings. Both my parents taught at that school. When they was asking the Prime Minister now to build the school, to build over the school, Dr. Rowley gave every reason why that school can't build over. You know, Kamala come in office, build the school, and open it on Rowley birthday, and serve him a cupcake. You understand? And some of the people who cussed Kamala on that day, you know, Point Commander RC School used to serve the catchment area of basically Big Yard, Smith, and Lansmeter. People from Lower Caranage, they used to go Caranage boys, Caranage girls. So Point Commander and Big Yard, Smith, and Lansmeter people would go Point Commander government, Point Commander RC School. You know some of them people down there who cuss Kamala stink. You know them cussing the teacher up in RC school. They want to go to that school now. They want the children come to that school. So it's funny. You know, but people, we need to get serious. You know, we need to really get serious. We need to become more active. As much as we just demand that those at the top do the work, we need to do it. There are certain things we need to do at the ground too. You understand? We need to revitalize ourselves. And I don't like to use the word mobilize, because mobilize have a period. It have a start and an end. I like to use the word organize, because organize is continuous. You understand? We need to stop with this mobilization talk. Don't mobilize. Don't let nobody tell you go and mobilize nobody out there. When they tell you that, tell them no, we organize. Because when you organize is when you just get things done. You understand? And one more thing before I leave. Caranage is St. Peter's village. Who was St. Peter? St. Peter was the fisherman. So that means Caranage is the premier fishing village of Trinidad and Tobago. Everybody else just call it Fisherman Fete. We just call it St. Peter's Day. Right? Everybody know that. Dr. Rowley, when he came into Caranage, St. Peter's Day was still up here. Now St. Peter's has reduced or regressed to a bar line. It's either by Ford Bar, Paradise Bar, Greenface Bar, Antonio's Bar, Zyro's Bar. It's only a bar line now. And you know what make it more, laughable? This man come from Tobago, where it have the heritage, where you know it have the what they call it, what each villagers keep, the harvest. So you come from a place where you know how a village, the street, a harvest, and you come and inherit a home. I born in Canada. He come and inherit a home where it's something, a replica of a harvest, and you watch that dwindle and dwindle under your stewardship, and you do nothing. So I'm making my plea now, I'm throwing my pitch that when we go in government, that this government will find some way to assist the fishermen to bring back St. Peter's Day to a respectable level where we could cause traffic jam again for the right reason. Thank you.
You know, you're raising mic, boy. So, we're going to have 3 more speakers, but I want to answer your issue concerning St. Peter's Bay with the fishing sector. I was once the chairman of the Seafood Industry Development Company, sir. We were in charge of the seafood industry of Trinidad and Tobago. St. Peter's Bay, those celebrations, St. Peter's Day celebrations, we were very much part of that. In fact, Sterling Chase would know this. We also took care of your fishing ports within Diego Martin. We were able to make sure that you had a proper fish market, which the Prime Minister now, who was an opposition MP, was amazed as to what was done then. So I tell you, sir, that when we do come into government, and we are going to make the next government, that will be correct again. Because it is always a UNC government who takes care of our agriculture sector. And the fishing sector is part of the agriculture sector. So I thought I should answer your concern tonight. even though I chaired the meeting tonight. So we now have we have time for 3 more speakers. So I'd like to invite the 2 persons who's in front here who's coming to speak, and then John.
Assalamu alaikum. Blessed good night to the head panel. Blessed good night to Diego Martin. My name is Daniel Wallen. I'm from San Juan, Barataria. I came to talk about education. And something I heard, I ain't even saying no word. I'm trying to be very polite as possible. Keith Rowley said during the Emancipation celebration. And I believe people in Trinidad don't know or understand what racism actually is. Racism is deciding, the main factor of racism is taking the resources that was naturally meant for our people and denying them the access to progress forward due to their race or ethnic group. That's one part. Keith Rowley has took away jobs. I want to sound like Trump, where he took away jobs from the Hindu and Afro youths in Trinidad and Tobago and passed it down to the Venezuela. The private sector, from the first time he came up and said that his is not seesaw. Yeah, bring one down to bring the other, lift the other one up. No. Though foolishness, don't work so. When he said to make the rich richer so the rich could create opportunity for the poor, it don't work so. Foolishness. It don't work so. Now that you make the rich richer, you have made the rich richer, it's easier for them to hire Venezuelans now when you give them all that opportunity for business. When they create their business, make it big and successful, it's easier to hire Venezuelans now and cheaper to hire Venezuelans now because you don't have to pay no taxes on them. They are not citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. You could pay them wherever you feel to, but some of them getting smart now and starting to rebel against it. So we have a problem on our hands again. While growing up, we wasn't taught, and he said something about we must honor and like our Africanism. But while growing up, we wasn't taught non-African history. I say this here now, and it's very sad. It's not to embarrass any group. But I'm telling you fact, I have many Afro youths think the same way how I think and felt back then. When I was young and at a primary level, I thought African people was the most stupidest people in the face of the earth. I'm dead serious. I was embarrassed. My father was a mulattoes, mixed, light skin. My mother was black. Dark skin, very dark, dark brown. And I disliked my mother and more gravitate to my father. Mind you me, he didn't mind me. I grew up on that single parent home. I grew up on that single parent home. So I always have that emotion that African, as how my mom was poor, we didn't have nothing that is the life for black people, never going away, nothing. But then after I was talking to somebody and they was like, yo, why you ain't go back to school? I see you seeking interest, because I like to speak with young older heads and learn about the past. So I went and studied history. Still studying now for a degree. And I was disappointed to know that Haiti and so many black others. And we all compare this after to PNM. Haiti was the first to free slaves in the Caribbean. Haiti was the first black republic. Haiti was the first to write on their constituents that every man is equal. Haiti was the first. No other. We had men like C.L.R. James and Kwame Ture preach about it. Now Rowley come and talk all our blackness now. Do you know it was Eric Williams that banned these men from Trinidad, and it was Basdio Pandey who brought them back in this country, relift the brand? Do you know it was Basdio Pandey who gave spiritual Baptist Day a holiday? Do you know it was under UNC, Kamala Prasad Bisesa, that built that school? The school on Piccadilly now is deplorable. 5 schools in Laventille under Hanks run down. And you come in now to tell us to love our Africanness, you out of all person, keep that dream and sell it to somebody else. I will tell the PNM supporters, keep your receipt when you're buying Rowley dreams.
Right. Good. So we now will ask the gentleman who wanted to speak on aviation. While I invite you to make your points, again, I'm also stressing in you all, let's keep it to what we're about, and that's talking on budget issues. Okay?
Hello, good evening. My name is Mike Alexander, and I was asked to come at short notice, but I just arrived in Trinidad a couple of days by my good friend, almost like my son, Eli Zakur. So I'd like to thank him for having me. I have listened to everyone tonight, and I must say all very valid points. But I am not about that. My forte is totally different. I'm involved in border security and aviation management. Unlike this particular administration, to me, in my whole life, is all about discipline and management. And if you don't have either, you will not succeed. So I would love to give her a second chance. And I would like you all to also stay away from the tribal politics and believe in yourself. Don't be fooled by, as people say, a jersey, a t-shirt, or some fancy thing. That look at the whole picture. You have to look at the whole picture down the road, because it's 5 years you will be putting people in charge of your affairs. And God knows Trinidad at this point in time, we don't know anything about maintenance. We believe in throwing money on the table and fixing it. We don't monitor. There is no accountability and transparency in any of the state companies and in anything that Trinidad does. And what I would like to see, because I have lived all over the world, and I came from Four Roads. I born and grew up in Four Roads, Diego Martin. And I would love to see Trinidad come back to the 70s and 80s when I grew up. It was a wonderful place. Trinidad is so well endowed. We have so much to offer. We have so much natural resources. We take things for granted. I've lived all over the Caribbean, all over the world. And one thing I could tell you, wherever I go, people have pride in what they have. They have pride, and they want to do better. And they want to keep what they have, and they want to boast about what they have. I think Trinidad has lost that loving feeling. And I would like to see Trinidad come back to its former glory. Again, with proper management, we have proper border security, we maintain our boats, we have no helicopters flying. Rowley has grounded the 4 Augusta Westland helicopters 8 years now. That's a $2 billion project that was scrapped by Augusta Westland and the government of Trinidad and Tobago, organized by Mr. Patrick Manning in 2008. Nothing has come about it. I mean, I will tip my hat to Mr. Manning, because he had a vision, right? And Rowley and them destroyed it. He had a 360-degree radar. He had SSA, SIA, SWORT, the 3 OPVs, 4 helicopters, all destroyed. So we have to get our border security back. We have to stop this influx of Venezuelans coming in at their whim and fancy. And as somebody pointed out earlier, taking your jobs, and they're getting involved in the crime now. All of this is lack of border security, lack of immigration, lack of customs. All hands on deck, this wrongs. And thank you all for having me.
Just before I bring in John quickly, Senator Leiter wishes to respond.
Just very quickly, and I thank you very much for raising the issue on the air guard having collapsed and on the border security being an issue. And I heard you recognize the fact that there was a couple $1 billion project done by Mr. Manning at the time. And I mean, we have to always be mature enough to accept when good things come from certain people. We almost also need to remember that when you spoke about the border security and the Coast Guard, it was under the Kamala Prasad-Bissessar regime where they put the resources to purchase 6 Daman vessels. That when this government came into power in 2015, and you will know this because I think we've spoken about this before, when they came into government in 2015, in 2016, the PNM government got delivery of those Daman vessels, which they had sitting down, parked up, not being used, not providing the resources for them. Fuel, no fuel. In fact, I think we spoke about the fact that there were no fuel bays, proper fuel bays built in Chagaramas, so they couldn't store fuel. They could. Then secondly, they failed in maintenance. They allowed the maintenance contracts to collapse. So therefore, there was no maintenance on the boats and they were breaking down. And then thirdly, the crew, they had a set of crew that was trained for it, but they never utilized the crew and they were dispersed into the Coast Guard. So those 6 Daman vessels sat down there, idle. I think it was Stuart Young sent them to Suriname to get repaired because the maintenance contract was up. And then the PNM administration goes and spends $600 million of taxpayers' money for 2 more hostile vessels, which are configured very similar to the 6 Daman vessels. And along with the 6 Daman vessels, those 2 hostile vessels sit down in Stobels Bay, sitting down, parked up. We see it there every time we go down the islands. They are not patrolling the shores with it. They are reactionary. They send the boats out only for reactionary purposes, or they say they have no fuel. But we have now not 6 Daman vessels, not 2 more hostile vessels, not the Chinese vessels, not all the pirogues. We had the best fleet in the Caribbean, the best Coast Guard fleet in the Caribbean. When Kamala Prasad-Bissessar left this office, we had the best Coast Guard fleet. And under this government, they failed to provide the resources to the Coast Guard for them to be operational. And that is why we have Venezuelan boats coming in and out, without checks and balances, without Coast Guard checking on them, without customs and excise down in Chagaramas checking on them when they pull up to our borders. So I just wanted to stress on the fact that they didn't only collapse the Air Guard, but the PNM collapsed the resources for the Coast Guard to be properly operational and so forth. And so if you want to say something else again, please jump in. very, very serious issue, and I think it needs to be ventilated.
To answer Mr. Leiter, I have been involved in this thing for over 15 years. I have made presentations. I have made PowerPoints. I have met with every Minister of National Security from John Sandy right up to Ethelbert Hines, Fitzgerald Ethelbert Hines. And every one of them has the same thing to say: we're going to get things done, we're going to do something. I always found that when I spoke about the right thing and border security is like taboo in this country for some ungodly reason. And I know my good friend here and Eli will want to do the right thing this time around and make sure and put the correct people to manage national security, border security, and may I just go outside a little bit to say state companies that have all collapsed, including Caribbean Airlines. All right? That is what I would like to see. And then if they want me to come back to Trinidad, I will come and serve because I love my country. And hopefully they will do it right and listen to the right thing. Finally. Thank you.
Okay, just very quickly and briefly, our last speaker for tonight from the floor, former candidate, Mr. John Lakis.
Forgive my manners. Good night to everyone. I didn't come prepared to speak, but a lady of 82 years old called me yesterday and asked me about, she got this thing pertaining to the tax, property tax. Well, the question she asked me, I couldn't reply because I have not read the act. She do not have $2,700 to pay. Could she pay it in parts? I don't know. So this is why I said I would have come tonight, because I want to bring that up, because there's so much uncertainty with this tax. You see what happened in Africa and Kenya? With tax, everybody came out until they fold. They have to fold. And like the other lady in the next country, she busted too. And all over the world, this is happening, except Trinidad. We are very nice people. We are very peaceful people. I am not preaching any kind of revolution or anything like that, but at some point in time, we had to get up. My brother, I understand what he was talking about. But boy, we have to get up. And I hope the members here will forgive me for bringing that up. But we have to show that we're not going to stand by and take this thing. All these consultations, great, nice. You think that short man going to entertain that? Short man going to do what he want to do because Rowley in charge and he could do anything. That is what a dictator is, you know? But what I will tell you, I standing by anytime we're ready to move, I'm ready to move. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This is where we bring a close to the open forum, and I want to invite our Northwest Regional Coordinator, Mr. Eli Zakur, to close our proceedings tonight.
Good night, brothers and sisters. Tonight, my responsibility was taking notes. I can't remember when last I wrote so much. When I started, this pen was full. It is now empty. Yes. All your thoughts, concerns, and recommendations have been documented and will be forwarded to the political leader, Mrs. Kamala Prasad-Basessa. I would like to respond. Who is watching? Good night, leader. Good night, leader. Yeah. I would like to respond to one of the speakers on the floor, Mr. Richard Isaac. If you go back to the UNC's 2020 economic plan, you would see it reads of building an East Port of Spain manufacturing steel plant facility. But don't worry, when we win in 2025, I am sure that facility will be built. As we draw this meeting to a close, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the speakers here today. Members of the head table, Chairman Brian Baig, young and upcoming economist Mr. Jade Mark, Senator Damian Lyder, and all speakers on the floor. Your insights and expertise have greatly enriched our discussions and provided valuable perspectives on topics at hand. I also want to thank each and every one of you for your active participation. Your engagement is what makes these meetings meaningful and productive. Let's carry the momentum of today's discussions into our future work. Together, we can achieve great things for our communities. Thank you and good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I think it was a very successful night. I'd like to also thank our streamer for doing what he's doing. A great job, Mr. Keevan Gibbs. Let's give him a round of applause. We must also recognize those who work behind the scenes. And with that, gentlemen and ladies, we bring a close to our event. Please reach home safe. Thank you all for coming. On behalf of the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, Senior Counsel, thank you very much. Reach home safe. Good night.